All right, welcome back, good people, and you tuned in for another Green Box Politics Classic. And I just want to thank the ladies and gentlemen for tuning in. So in this classic episode, what I want to do is give an acknowledgement and keep the name alive of a good brother that I grew up with. He actually lived on Taylor Road with me. He was from the same neighborhood, and I actually met him through being, cool with his younger brother. So today I just want to keep this brother's name alive, talk about some of the good memories I had with him, some of the favorable experiences that I've had with this man, things that I learned from him, just observing him and being around him and, just being in this brother's aura and presence, it was very, very powerful. So I just want to share that, with all the people in the Midnight Mirage and those that may be out there and just want to learn, I guess just the gratitude of life, you know what I'm saying, and valuing life and understanding that the time that we have here is very, very powerful and valuable. You know how sometimes people may say things like, man, it seems like time is moving by fast. But, as I'm maturing in life, I'm realizing that it's not time moves by fast. It's that the time we have here is very, very valuable. Yeah, it's not that time moves by very fast. It's that the time we have here is very valuable. OK, it's the time that we have here to just experience the organic life itself, and also the people that you meet, the men and women, the young and the old that you meet throughout your life of all ethnicities and backgrounds, nationalities, religions, culture, just all the different good people that you meet in this life here. That's really more what this is all about, and how we can connect and gain and, just help each other on our, spiritual journey, both here in the present and in the hereafter. All right. So in this video, we're going to talk about the brother AB, who grew up with me, on Taylor Road in Palisades. And I actually met him through his younger brother. But that's who this tape is going to be about. The brother AB, who's from our neighborhood. And, AB was like the older brother in the neighborhood. Me personally, I didn't have an older brother in my household. I am the older brother. I am the elder. So I was already playing that position. And when it came to learning about things, in life when it concerns manhood, learning about business, history, you know what I'm saying, and spirituality, and some of the other important, key things that a man needs to know in life. My father instructed me in these things. My father was my first masculine teacher. He was the first patriarchal figure in my life, and he gave me the tools that I needed for manhood. But when it came to, surviving in the streets, my father wasn't necessarily in the streets with me. A lot of the stuff that I may have been doing in the streets, my father did not approve of, especially when he found out later the way he would come up on me, about it. But, he wouldn't approve of some of the stuff I was doing. So that means when I was a young man in the streets, although I may have had the knowledge and wisdom and, some of the skill set that my father provided me in life, but I still was like that young lion. I didn't have that full grown beard yet. You know what I'm saying? And in the streets, it's a very, very violent, chaotic, dangerous, place. And when you out in the streets roaming, and you learning as a young man, a young teenager, it would help if you had somebody that was older to protect you, and AB was that man. He was that, that guy that was, like the older brother of the neighborhood, like I said. And he was there to protect not only me, but all the other younger brothers in the crew as well. So we're going to just talk about a little bit of his character and personality, some of the stuff that I learned from him, and give y'all some funny stories, because I got a lot of funny stories with him. So we're going to just do that in this tape, and, hopefully you can gain from it. But I initially met AB, and it was around 2000 to 2001. I can remember being in about the 6th or 7th grade. So that means I was about 11 or 12 years old at this time period. But as I stated a little bit earlier, I met AB through his younger brother. All right. So salute and shout out to his younger brother. His younger brother was named Lope. And I can remember when I first met Lope, we actually were trading wrestlers, because this was like that late 90s era. We were all still young. We were children. And, I know I still was, had wrestlers and stuff like that. But I remember it was that early, though, when I met him. And AB is actually a couple of years older than Lope. You know what I'm saying? So if I was 11 or 12, then shit, AB probably already was in like his mid-teens, maybe his mid to late teens. So he was several years older than me. But whenever we would, go over Lope house, you know what I'm saying, he had 2 older brothers and an older sister. And then his mother and father were there. You know, a lot of his cousins used to come over, and his grandmother lived there as well. So they had a very, very strong, tight-knit family. And then I gravitated towards them because his mother was very, very warm, welcoming to all of us in the neighborhood. And she reminded me of my mother a lot in that way. But Loke and his family, and they were all from California. And their parents have a Nigerian background, you know, so they were from California when I was meeting them in the early 2000s. So a lot of AB's, you know, formative years when he was a young teen and stuff like that, you know, he was growing up in the California culture. So that was some of the energy that he had with him when he came to Georgia. And I know that I met him in the early 2000s. Now, as far as how AB was outside with us, and everything I'm talking about right now is going to be between the ages of, let's see, like when I met them at about like 11 years old type. So let's say from about 11 to 14 years old, I'm going to talk a little bit about how AB was in the streets with us. And when I say the streets, I mean more so the neighborhood, like within Palisades, the First Street, you know, over on Mountain Pass, on Sandpiper Glen, the back neighborhood, Kendrick, you know what I'm saying? Like our whole little area, right? I'm going to be real with y'all. The main thing I remember about AB growing up is that man was a top-notch joker. You know what I'm saying? That older guy that like be roasting on you, you know. He used to just be outside roasting and shit like that, you know. Kind of almost like, man, if you posted up on a green box or you posted up on a corner or something and you see him coming, you kind of low-key shaking your head because you already know he finna just kind of get on us about, you know, what the hell we had going on, or, you know, or just get the clowning on us about something, you know what I'm saying? And I remember he would pull that out about me. I remember we would be out there playing basketball because a couple of doors down, I mean, we had a lot of basketball goals we played on, but we would be at Brandon's house, one of the brothers we grew up with on Sandpiper. He had a goal. And then Loca AB, they had a basketball goal as well. But I remember one day, man, and I'm talking about this had to have been probably like 2002 type shit, 2003. But he was out there, he was roasting me one time. He was just on me because we were playing like 21 or something. And I remember I was roasting him back because he had on like some white Reeboks. And he had on like these swimming trunks, but the swimming trunks, I think they was black, and they had like fish on them. You know what I'm saying? And I just remember roasting him like, nigga, your ass look like you finna go swimming or some shit or whatever. And that was a long time ago though. But AB used to just be out there socializing with us, you know, playing basketball. And we used to do a lot of like, you know, I mean, we were young children, young teens, or at least I was, and some of the other guys. So we would be doing a lot of little immature shit like playing nigga knock or ding dong ditch. You know, we would like ring people doorbells and run and shit like that. I don't really remember AB being with us too much when we used to do like that young niggas type shit. Remember, he was a couple years older. But I do remember it was one time where, also too, AB had a homeboy, Mackie. He used to stay next door to my nigga Deezy on Sandpiper Glen on the right-hand side. But Mackie was around AB's age. Mackie was like, you know, a dark bronze complexion. He used to have a little afro or whatever. And he used to like roasting us a lot too. You know what I'm saying? Because him and AB, like, that's just what they used to be on. And I remember like, he used to always just have that little grin on his face. Like, but that nigga Mackie, he stayed roasting us though. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, them niggas stayed roasting. Like, that was something they was real good at. But I remember one time it was snowing, right? And seeing Georgia, you know, we can remember most of the times when it snowed because it ain't like it snows every winter. But this had to be either the year 2000 or 2001, 2002, something like that, right? And it was one of the times when we was out on Christmas break. So this is like December, January. But I remember it was snowing, you know what I'm saying? And it was enough snow to where like we could make, you know, like small little snowmen, and we could actually make real snowballs and have like a snow fight, right? Because in our neighborhood, we used to play a lot of shit, man, like cops and robbers. Like, niggas used to be just playing all these little fighting games and shit. So when it was snowing, I remember we was on the First Street. You know, everybody was just throwing snow at each other and shit like that. Mind you, I'm probably like 11, 12. So we was out there, and I remember in my backyard, it was a young guy named Chase. And not my brother or not the other. It's funny, we had 3 Chases in our neighborhood, but this was he was a young Caucasian guy. He probably maybe was like a year or 2 younger than me. He probably was like around my younger brother's age, but his name Chase, and he stayed like behind me on the First Street. I stayed on the Second Street, but in my backyard, it was connected to his backyard. And I remember his father's name was Mr. Jack. And his father, Mr. J, used to always drink them Budweisers, I remember, because every time we would go over there and play and shit, they would just be outside the cans. But I remember Mr. Jack, he used to let us come over and play with his son Chase. We used to be out there playing baseball, all type of toys, because I remember Chase, he was the only child. So he had all type of trampolines in his backyard, bikes. And I remember inside of his shed, he had a bunch of toys and stuff like that too. And I remember his dad, they just was cool. Like, they was Caucasian, you know what I'm saying, living in a predominantly so-called black neighborhood, but they was still cool, you know what I'm saying? So we used to be over there playing with Chase and shit, you know, with the toys and, you know, little games and bikes and shit like that. So I remember when it was snowing one time, Mr. Jack, he was like riding through the neighborhood. He had just came in Palisades, and they lived on the First Street. So he came in, and, you know, in order for him to go home, he go down the First Street on the left. But we was all in the front, like throwing snowballs and shit. And I remember AB had made this big ass snowball and threw it at Mr. Jack's car. And Mr. Jack got mad as fuck. And I remember he was like chasing us through the neighborhood and all this crazy ass shit. But I just remember thinking like, boy, this nigga AB, this nigga wild, man. Like he used to just do a lot of like daredevil, risk taker, you know what I'm saying? The Joker comedic type shit. Like that's just how he was as like the older brother in the neighborhood. But that was funny. Another situation I remember, this one was a little more serious, or at least to me, because I was young. But I remember one time I had to been probably like 12, and I was going over to Lote house to see what the hell he had going on, but I don't think he was there that day. So when I was walking over there, I went through the cut. So then I'm coming over on Sandpiper Glen, and I'm walking over to AB and Lote house, and I'm looking on the porch, and I see AB just kind of sitting there, but he kind of leaning over, right? So I called his name, but he ain't answer. So I'm like, the hell going on? So I walked up to him, and I'm looking at him, and he like slow key throwing up, and his like eyes was closed. You know what I'm saying? And he looked like he was just disoriented and shit like that. So I'm like, AB, you all right, bro? You all right? And he wasn't really saying nothing, right? So mind you, like I'm 11, 12. You know what I'm saying? So I'm scared as fuck. I'm wondering like, damn, like, you know, I hope the homie okay. So I remember I ran home real quick, ran up the hill, you know what I'm saying? Ran up the steps, and I remember I ran in the house. And I called 911 because I didn't know what else to do. You know what I'm saying? I'm like 11 years old, 12. And I called 911. I'm like, yeah, man, my friend, he on the other street throwing up, you know, and I don't know what's wrong with him or whatever, X, Y, and Z, right? So I remember I went back over there, and I remember like a little ambulance came. But long story short, what it was is that he was drunk. You know what I'm saying? He just was drunk and maybe had drunk a little bit too much, and you know, he was feeling woozy and shit and probably had just thrown up a little bit. But me, I didn't know what that was. You know, I didn't know how it looked. I just saw his eyes wasn't really open. The nigga wasn't talking. He was like low-key throwing up, you know, and he just wasn't his usual self. So I just was scared. And I remember after all that shit was over, he probably looked at me like, nigga, you done ran and called the folk, damn police on me and shit. Nigga over here drunk or whatever. But it was just like some little comedy shit I remember laughing about with him. And I was like, bro, I didn't know what the hell was going on with you. Like, you was over here throwing up and shit. Like, nigga, I don't drink. I barely know what alcohol is. But I remember him kind of laughing that shit off. Like, you know, like, boy, you hell or whatever, X, Y, and Z. But that was just like a little comedy story I remember. Now, as far as like how AB was in the streets when it came to, you know, because during the era I was growing up on the South Side, that's where a lot of the street culture and what we'll call the Southside drill, so-called gang culture was really started. Like in that early 2000s, late 90s, you know, 2001, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's when it was like, I'll say in the baby stages, right? So AB and them, they was already a little bit older, and they were part of those initial generations that were part of those, you know what I'm saying, Southside Mafia versus Hit Squad wars, right? But back then, when I was like in like middle school, you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know that they had all that going on. Like, I'm still trying to make the basketball team and doing shit that a 11 or 12-year-old were doing. But the older guys, them niggas was real turned up. It was just, I didn't know that. And then when we would go to Sparkles, see, Sparkles on 85 was like, you know, it was a skating rink, you know. But see, remember when I was real young, we going up there still low-key having like birthday parties and, you know what I'm saying? I remember like skating up there and shit, you know, and playing Mortal Kombat 2 on the arcade, you know what I'm saying? So we still coming from that era, like me and all the young niggas that was like around my age. But the older guys, they was already up there turning up like on some like paramilitary shit, right? So when, you know, it is probably when I was now, and I'm probably about 13, It's like I'm getting ready to transition into high school now around this time. But basically, around this time, when I'm leaving middle school, going into high school, whatever, mind you, we always over Loc and AB house kicking in and stuff like that. But a lot of AB, his homeboys would come over there, right? And these was dudes from like other parts of the South Side, other parts of Riverdale, up Taylor Road, up by Riverdale High School and Riverdale Middle, and up by 85, you know what I'm saying? And then they already had like cars and stuff like that. So they was already moving around. And, AB, like, it would be a lot of times he wouldn't be in the neighborhood with us. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we'll just see him like, that morning or something if we came over or whatever, or just like some random shit. But, bro was older, so he had girlfriends and, you know what I'm saying? He had his own homeboys and like other shit he was doing. But a lot of times they would come over to the house, you know what I'm saying? And then later on, I'll find out that these dudes, were the Southside Mafia crew, like the ones that was really the originators of that shit. Somebody that used to always come over was the boy Max, him and Dennis. He had two homeboys named Max and Dennis. It was a lot of other ones, you know what I'm saying? Like the main guys, but they used to always come over. Him and Max and Dennis, they were real cool. And I remember, and I could tell that, that them boys was, cause they used to be fresh, you know what I'm saying? I remember they had the silver Monte Carlo back then. And they had like the newer ones, you know what I'm saying? So it was like, damn, these niggas like official. So, I used to, be peeping they swag and learn a little shit from them. Cause you remember, I'm still young. So if I'm like 13, 14, 12, these dudes already probably maybe 16, 17, 18 type, you know what I'm saying? So they faster and already know about certain shit I don't know. So a lot of certain shit I used to see in the streets as far as like how the South Side culture was formulating, I was learning it from them. Like they was already driving the box Chevys with, and they would change the different they would wrap the cars, like they would have the different M&Ms and the Skittles and like back then when they would have the old school and they would prime it and you would see them riding around with that gray primer on it, and then next thing you know, it would be a different like color, or they'll have a different type of wrap on it or something like that. So they was already on that shit back then. I remember also the race car jackets, like the older guys, they was the first ones I saw wearing them, because the Mafia, whenever they would come to our neighborhood, you would know it was them because they would have the Monte Carlos and all that, and then they would all have them race car jackets on. So I was like, damn, them niggas up at Riverdale, how them boys turned up. Like, I just saw how they was moving. Them niggas was militant. They was already making music. They was getting a little money and stuff. And then they were like the homeboys of the big brother of the neighborhood. So by default, we gonna all kind of just be around them. And that affected and, influenced and poured down to my generation. You know what I'm saying? So later on, like, when me and Amin would grow older and start making music and stuff, and then I would tell y'all like how Smeezy and different brothers in the Mafia and like this, all of them, TD, like how all them guys was making music. Like that's who we was growing up around and stuff. And then a lot of them used to be in our neighborhood because they would be over there with AB. So this is how, you know what I'm saying, we were starting to see like, just learning like the trade of the streets and just different little stuff like that just from being around them, right? Even when I started to learn about music, like, for example, I mean's uncle, he's like several years older than us, and he's from the West Side. So when he was growing up, he was over in like zone 1, zone 3, different parts of the inner city. So when I mean would go over there with him, he would learn about certain little music and certain stuff that they was doing on the West Side, and then he would come back and tell me. So I had the West Side sauce, and then on the South Side, I had the older dudes, AB and all them, and they was already on like that old school Memphis rap. You know what I'm saying? Like that old school DJ Paul and Juicy J and Lord Infamous and Project Pat. Like I first started hearing that going over AB in them house. Like I would go in there or whatever because his room was right next door to Lowe's. And whether we were playing a game or whatever, but I just remember bro playing the music and shit. I'm like, damn. And then mind you, remember these niggas older. So they already got CDs and had money for all that shit. So this back in the era, right, where we was burning CDs. You know what I'm saying? So what I used to need to do is find whoever got the original copy and then burn it, and then now I'll have it and just save it on my Windows media player, right? So here go another little funny story. I remember one time I was over there with Loc, and Loc had he had, I think it was like Choices, and he had that Eternal 99 from Bone Thugs and Harmony, right? And one time we were listening to it, I'm like, damn, that shit was hard. So I remember I went back and I was asking him to get the CD because I wanted to burn it. And he was like, man, he's like, that shit in AB room or whatever, X, Y, and Z. So I was like, oh shit, you know what I'm saying? So I remember AB wasn't there, you know, and then he was like, man, he was like, bro, you better not let that nigga catch you in his room, boy. So I remember I was thinking to myself, like, you know, once again, going back to the Joker shit, I'm like, man, that nigga ain't gonna catch me. So I remember I had peeked in his room, you know what I'm saying? That nigga wasn't nowhere around. I just saw his CDs right there on the counter. So I remember I just ran over there real quick and was looking through his CDs. Then I found that motherfucker, then ran it and burned it. And then I think I like brought it back later on or some shit like that. But that was just another little funny story. Me being a young, you know what I'm saying, Joker fucking around, you know, getting his CDs and shit. You know, that was just some old little funny shit. But so now I'm gonna tell y'all a little bit about when the boy AB used to be actually active in the streets, and when I used to actually see like what he really was outside of just being with us in Palisades, like when they was having their little, you know, paramilitary warfare with Hit Squad and all these other dudes, you know, in different parts of the Southside and even other parts of Atlanta that I would find out later. I got to see really, because now that I'm a little bit older, you know, now we turning up with certain little shit. We got our own little mob and, you know, a little mafia shit going on. So now we starting to be with AB and them in the streets, because it was a point where, you know, even as I was like transitioning into high school, I remember AB would get locked up and kind of have like little times where he would get in trouble and stuff like that. So sometimes he wouldn't be around, I remember. But it seems like when I got into like the 9th, 10th grade, that's when he started coming back around. And at that point, I just remember everything being like super turned up, because he just had a lot of energy. And like I said, AB was like the general. He the one that like glued the Palisades Amp Squad on Taylor Road. He glued that with everything going on at Riverdale and the Mafia, Southside Mafia, and all them older dudes. Like, he was the one that really glued that together, because you know, as I said, he grew up in our neighborhood with us and he was cool with them. So shit just was real turned up. But I remember one time, and I'm gonna say this dude name, you know what I'm saying? But when I say this, I ain't trying to start no conflict or, you know, I'm just kind of going off of my memory right now, the top of my memory. So if this was him, it was him. But if it wasn't, I ain't trying to say nothing and start no bullshit or nothing. But I remember one time we was in the hood chilling, and we had caught wind that Hit Squad and then was up there at Sparkles, right, on 85. So I remember we all had just mobbed up there. It was us, 220, and the Mafia, right? We was deep as shit. And some of us was sitting at the Quick Trip across the street. And then some of us went on head across to Sparkles, right? So I was with AB and a couple of people that he was with. So I remember we went to Sparkles, right? And we must have parked like somewhere else, or we didn't park like close to where the door is in Sparkles. It probably was like down the hill a little bit in the parking lot. You know what I'm saying? So all my niggas that know off of 85, like, it was like a low-key hill in the Sparkles parking lot. And up kind of by the front where the door was, like on the left-hand side, it was like this burgundy Buick, right? And I remember some niggas like, hey, bro, the nigga Black Corey out here, bro, X, Y, and Z, right? He's supposed to be one of these head Hit Squad niggas. So AB was like, for real? So so we got there, right? So AB in the front, and it's like me, one of my cousins, and like a couple of other people, because we was like so deep, we would be in different cars and different little platoons and shit, right? So I remember AB was walking up to I looked to the left, I see his burgundy like Buick type car, and I see this tall, dark-skinned dude, and he kind of like leaning against it, you know, with his arms crossed and shit. He had on a white t-shirt. Now AB obviously must have recognized the guy. So AB walking up, but I remember when AB was walking up, he was acting like he was puzzled or he was lost or he was trying to find something, and he was trying to ask bro a question. So I remember thinking, like, what is AB doing? So I'm looking, I'm like, what the hell is bro doing? So I kind of walk up a little closer, and AB he asking bro questions and shit, right? So the dude that I'm thinking is Black Corey, he was looking like, bro, what you talking about, X, Y, and Z? But mind you, the whole time, AB just kind of really trying to get close to bro. Next thing I know, AB done got close to bro and just ping, and just done hit bro a couple times, and then he kind of like, you know, trying to ground himself. But next thing you know, after that, once we seen AB do that, shit, me and the rest of the guys, you know, we ran up and now we stomping bro out or whatever. And then I remember like some of the hit squad dudes came out or whatever, and we had a little tussle that night. But that was one time when I seen, I'm like, damn, this boy be like deceptive with this shit. Like he low key was on some, Mossad. Like he was just like clever with it. He ain't just come like this like outright aggressor. He like deceived the guy low key. He had him with his guard down, right? So that was funny as fuck. Another time, this shit was real funny. So I remember when we was with the Mafia and we went to the east side and we was at the Megaplex across from South DeKalb Mall, right? I think that's on Candler. So we in the Megaplex. Now this is when I knew that Mafia shit was real, because we already deep as hell. We probably like, I don't even know how many cars deep we was, because it was all of us. So we went to the east side, and when we all got out the cars, mind you, these clubs be having like long lines that you got to get in, right? So I remember when we got out, but some of the older Mafia dudes, they was already in front of us. And I just seen them niggas like bum rush the whole door, right? So the little security guard and the dude in the front, I guess the Mafia dudes had like pressed them and like threatened them and was like, nigga, you better let everybody from the south side in this shit. So I remember the dude saying, man, if you in Southside Mafia, bro, y'all just come on to the front, X, Y, and Z. And I just remember thinking like, damn, these boys hell or whatever. So anyway, we just bum rushed the club or whatever, right? Mind you, we on a whole nother side of town. I'm from Clayton County on the south side in Riverdale. Nigga, we in Decatur on the east side in DeKalb County. So we done took our military to a whole nother side of Atlanta, running up in they shit, right? So the whole night, I remember niggas from the south side just was like going ham, right? And I remember seeing I remember the boy N.O. was in there from 220, you know what I'm saying? Free the boy N.O. I remember him being in there. Like everybody was in there, right? So, I mean, I never forget, around this time, this was in Atlanta during the little Laffy Taffy era. And, when a lot of brothers from the west side, because a lot of them came up with them different dances and the pop locking and, you know what I'm saying? That was like, I guess, part of their little culture over there, right? So that music was very popular in Atlanta. A lot of the snap pop music era, right? And at this time, they had a song called Bunny Hop. They was like, everybody stop, now do the bunny hop, or some shit like that, right? And I never forget when we was in there, that nigga AB was like, man, he said, man, nigga, nobody from the south side do that lame ass bunny hop shit. I better not see nobody from the south side doing the fucking bunny hop. And I just was busting out laughing like, he want to see. That nigga AB was like, bro, I don't want to see nobody from our way doing that lame ass shit. So that night, it was very easy to distinguish like us from everybody else. But yeah, that nigga AB was definitely on mob boss war general mode that night. Like he was literally had everybody in formation. Like that shit was impressive to see that night. It was like, I'll never forget that experience. And another time that was crazy as fuck. I remember when we was beefing with Hit Squad and some of the MOB dudes, when I talked to y'all about Larry's situation. Rest in peace to the brother Larry. Now, mind you, remember Larry, he's from our hood. We all from the same shit, right? So one time, I remember, man, it was around the spring break of had to be my 10th grade year. Spring break of my 10th grade year, right? A lot of crazy shit was going on. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. For some reason, it seemed like when we came back from Christmas break in 2004, in January 2005, it was like shit just was like piped all the way up, right? So from January, February, March, like everything just is like, I just remember it being a lot of like, hot warfare. You know what I'm saying? A lot of fights, a lot of little shootouts, and like shit was really heating up. So I remember one time I went to one of my older cousins' basketball games, right? It was on a Saturday afternoon. And we got back at nighttime, probably like around like 9 something. So we coming down Mountain Pass, because that's the street that I lived on. But if you continue to go down Mountain Pass, it's a cul-de-sac, right? Which is not that far down from one of the homies. So I remember we got back that night. And, my mom, she pulled in the driveway and shit. And I looked down to the cul-de-sac and I just see a bunch of niggas over there playing loud music, low-key, like they was celebrating, right? But I ain't really recognize the cars. You know what I'm saying? I just remember feeling the energy like, man, who is that? That shit look kind of weird. So anyway, I went in the house, you know what I'm saying? Changed clothes or whatever. Go over to Loke house, and then come to find out that there was a big warfare that had happened at the end of Sandpiper down by the boy Lee old house, right? So I'm like, oh man, this shit been cracking or whatever. So around that time, a couple of days later, right? So one day, a couple of doors down, man, on the left-hand side, one of the brothers we grew up with, he stays there, right? That we used to post up in front of his house. So I knew that a couple of the guys were down there because I had got a phone call and they were telling me that, 220 had got to arguing with some of them dudes. So it's probably going to be some smoke or whatever, right? So I was like, shit, I'm going to come out there or whatever and we going to go see what's up. So I remember getting my shit together, but the way my house was set up in my laundry room, that's why I used to keep my shoes that I played outside in. But on the back wall of the laundry room, it was a window that you could see out in the front yard and you could see Mountain Pass and like you could see the cars out there, right? So I remember when I was putting my shoes on, I was looking out the window in the laundry room and I was seeing like a lot of cars pulled up that I ain't realized, you know what I'm saying? But they was facing in the direction like that was towards my homeboy's house, which was a couple of doors down to the left, like near where the cul-de-sac is, right? So when I saw it, it just looked real suspicious and eerie. I ain't gonna even lie to y'all. So I was like, yeah, I ain't finna go out the front door because I didn't know what was going on. So I remember I went out my back door and then I ran through the backyard and came, to my homie's front yard through his backyard so nobody on the front street would see me, right? So as I'm coming around the corner, I'm seeing like a whole low-key like little platoon of niggas like low-key rushing us, you know what I'm saying? Like coming with bats with their shirts off, and it was down there like 30, 40 niggas, right? 30, probably, I'm gonna be realistic. It probably was somewhere between 30 to 45. You know what I'm saying? Probably between 30 to 50 of them niggas, right? So as I'm coming around, I'm seeing all these dudes and they like walking up towards where we at. And in the driveway, it's only me and a couple of the guys, right? So we in the driveway, and then my homie, he got his garages up because, you know what I'm saying? I got a younger sister and so does he. So sometimes when we would be in the neighborhood just chilling with the boys, I would have my little sister out there and sometimes he would have his. So I remember I was thinking like, what the fuck these niggas doing? Like walking up so close, like bro, sister probably out there or whatever. So I remember not liking that. And I kind of walked down to the street. So a couple of these niggas, they kind of stopped where they was at. And then in the front, it was like some niggas from Dream Team, which was like a game from Lovejoy and, the little MOB 23, a couple of the Hit Squad niggas. And I saw a couple of people that I knew and recognized, right, that were the so-called enemy. And it was crazy, man. Rest in peace, that boy Larry. But that boy Larry was like on the opposite side of the street. And he was on the sidewalk, I remember. And the boy Larry had on like this black tank top, like some gray sweats and like some black gloves. And I remember he was just bucking on them niggas, right? That nigga Larry wasn't standing down for nothing. I'm talking about, y'all, we were super outnumbered. And, I'm thinking like the best we got to just hold our ground because if these niggas just rush us, it really ain't nothing we can do. So Larry was just standing like on the left-hand side over there or whatever. So these niggas was like, slowly getting closer, right? So next thing that happened is that I can see AB running through the cut coming from Sandpiper, which is the next street over, right? And mind y'all, I don't have no reason to sit on here to lie to y'all. Y'all don't really know none of these streets I'm talking about. Y'all probably don't know the neighborhoods, and some of the people involved y'all may not know. So there really is no incentive for me to come and lie to you. But the next thing that I'm about to tell y'all is the God honest truth. Like I don't have no reason to lie about this. This man AB literally ran through the cut. And when them niggas that came to our neighborhood, that was like the enemy gangs, I'll say. When them niggas saw AB, a lot of them niggas dropped their bats and literally backed up. And I remember AB picked up some of the bats and ran at them niggas and was like damn near about to swing and hit them with the bat. Now, mind you, it was probably like damn near 30 or 40 of them niggas. AB ran up on them niggas by himself. Like he ran past us and ran straight to them niggas by himself. And Larry was kind of like a couple feet away from AB on his left side. And I remember that boy Larry super turned up when AB did that, because he was already over there like going ham. But when AB came through And them niggas seen AB, them niggas like backed up like on some, like the hyenas just saw Mufasa type shit. Like that's literally how it looked. And I was standing behind AB on the right hand side by the homie's mailbox. And I saw that shit. I'm like, damn, them niggas done backed up. So we now, we done rushed, you know what I'm saying? To like, so AB wouldn't get too deep, but he was literally like pressing up on them niggas, and them niggas was like backing up. So I'm like, damn, like I ain't never seen. I'm like, this some like low key Samson shit, cause I'm still a young teenager. Like I'm still like 14. You know what I'm saying? 15. So I'm in the streets doing my thing, but remember, I'm still the young lion that's growing and learning. So I'm watching the older, seasoned lions that already been dominating this shit. Like I'm watching and seeing how they get down. And AB literally ran up on them dudes and they backed up. And I ain't gonna lie, I ain't never seen no shit like that in the streets. That really is the first and last time that I've seen something on that type of level. Cause they could have, I know some of them niggas had guns. Like they could have easily rushed him, but it was just his energy, that nigga presence, and then they already knew what bro was up on. Cause remember, like when he was with the Mafia and the older guys, AB was already terrorizing them dudes. You know what I'm saying? So they already knew who AB was. He had already been in the county jail, and I think at that time he had already even been in the state prison of Georgia. So bro was on a whole nother level. Like he was, you know what I'm saying? So niggas weren't really like fucking with AB on that. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like bro was like the real life gladiator type, you know what I'm saying, nigga in the streets. I'm gonna be honest with you, he was. My father taught me manhood in certain levels, but when it came to like niggas I've seen in the streets doing shit and like had niggas low key like backing up and stuff like that, yeah, AB got that for sure. So the next thing I want to talk about is, man, some of the experiences that I know the brother AB had. Because as I said, when I was a teenager, like the boy AB would get locked up little times and shit like that. And but I remember, man, now I want to talk a little bit about my last time seeing AB. My last time I saw AB, it had to been like 2008, 2009, right? And I visited him because when I got back from college, I remember we had a winter break. And I was staying with AB's brother, because when I would come back to Atlanta, I would just go stay with them because I wanted to stay on the south side, so I could still be with the guys and little shit like that, to just see what everybody had going on. So I was staying with the boy Lope, and I remember one night, he was like, man, he was like, let's go visit the boy AB. I'm like, damn, man, I ain't seen AB in a minute. I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. So we drove down to Clayton County Jail. And I ain't gonna lie, I was excited to see him. You know what I'm saying? I was excited to tell him about the college shit and how it was and, what I was thinking about majoring in and doing and all that. Because when I was growing up, like everybody in the hood always knew. They was like, the boy Chaz, you know what I'm saying? He pretty wise. Like, he's knowledgeable. Like, bro may really go and end up doing something with this education shit. Who knows? So AB was supportive and like he saw me as I was growing up. So, I was happy to tell him, man, like, some of my goals and little shit like that. Because around this time, I'm probably like 19. I'm probably like 19, 20. You know what I'm saying? Like 19, 20 years old. So I remember the boy AB, I remember we went to Clayton County, right? So I'm seeing everybody, they got their orange jumpsuits, right? So then the boy AB came and then he got on a red jumpsuit. So I'm like, oh man, like he must have had some, you know what I'm saying, some violent shit, and then he was like a repeated offender. So they had AB on some whole other shit. And I remember when he was just walking through, like all the other little inmates and shit, like just yelling and saying little shit. Like I said, AB was the fucking gladiator. Like niggas knew what time it was and he was well respected. And then he had a charismatic personality. Like he was a nigga that was easy to like. So I saw the respect that he had even in the Clayton County jail. But I remember he came and we sat down for a minute. He had talked to his brother. And then he had talked to me for a minute. I was telling him what I was doing and stuff. And I remember he was just saluting and shouting it out. I remember he was smiling the whole time. And I just remember thinking like, damn, bro, like, man, you behind this damn wall and shit. Like, I remember feeling a little more fucked up about it than him. But he was like still joking and still like the regular AB. Like, he wasn't even seem like he was locked up or whatever. So, and he was just like, he was positive. You know what I'm saying? He told me to keep doing what I'm doing, man. And, he was saluting me and shit. And then I remember he left, and little did I know that was gonna be the last time that I ever actually saw AB in this life, and that was the last time I saw the brother, man. But then after that, I think that he ended up getting shipped to the state prison because, he had been given his sentence and stuff like that. So that last time I saw him in Clayco, after that, he went to the state prison. So he probably was at different prisons here, in the state of Georgia and stuff like that. But I remember, man, like it would be a lot of violence, and that boy was still active behind the wall, like, because he would send pictures to us sometimes of like niggas knocked out, like laying in blood and shit. Like remember on Martin when that dude had the pumpkin head after they were boxing? Like imagine just seeing somebody on the ground and that shit just like red, but their head looked like that. And them niggas' eyes not open. You know what I'm saying? Like real deal killer gladiator shit that them niggas was up on, man. And that was just a situation. And that's a high stressful, intense situation. Even if a man is experienced in that, like don't nobody want to live like that all the time. But when he was in prison, unfortunately, you be having to live by the law of the jungle. So when he went behind the wall, I'm sure that he went to even another level, you know what I'm saying, of his, of his ability to be lethal, and I just leave it at that. But so now I want to take you to about 2017 because I think that he ended up getting out around 2017 because by this time period, I ended up moving to Arizona. You know what I'm saying? I ended up moving to Arizona and I started getting deeper into doing the, accounting and the publishing, and my entrepreneurship career started to pick up a little bit. So now I'm out here on the West Coast, really in ABO stomping ground, because my goal is to start going to California. So what ended up happening is like towards the end of 2018, I was able to start now going to California, doing business out there and networking with people out there and building up shit out there, right? And I remember I was just excited because I was learning the publishing game. A lot of the stuff that I saw the Mafia doing with like the music and stuff, a lot of the music that was doing when we was growing up, like I knew how to kind of put it all together now. I now knew what the business side to that was. And I always, even from when I was real young, when we was growing up, I always saw myself as a businessman. So I'm like, okay, now I know what the business is. So I'm like, shit, we probably can make a run at this shit now. So I just remember being excited. And I'll never forget, man, I think it was like January of 2019. I had gotten a flight back to Arizona and I was just real excited. You know what I'm saying? One of the guys had picked me up. So we going back to the spot. And I got out the vehicle, I remember. And because in Arizona, that shit real hot out there, right? So at the apartments, they got a lot of those garage decks where the people can park their cars under there. And I remember getting out up under it and answering the phone and just being kind of turned up. And it was my mother. So, I'm on the phone telling her what we got going on, or remember, whatever. And she was just kind of had a low tone in her voice. So I'm like, what's going on or whatever? And she was like, man, somebody just called me and told me that that she think AB had lost his life. So I was like, what? I ain't gonna lie. It was like I just kind of felt frozen for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I knew she wasn't lying, but I'm gonna be real with y'all, man. Every time that I've gotten a phone call where somebody I was close to, they died, and it wasn't from something natural, like it was either from like, gun violence or something like that. Every time I got that phone call, it was like that same feeling. Like I be feeling frozen. And it's like, that they telling the truth, but it seems so it's like an out of body experience almost, man. And then she told me a little bit more information that she had. And I just remember tearing up, man. I remember tearing up, man. That was a sad space and time for me at that moment because, I had just figured out how to really do this shit. You know what I'm saying? I was in Cali or whatever, and like I'm feeling good. I'm telling the guys back in Georgia, and then I got that call, and I'm like, man, like it hurt because AB was instrumental to everything we was doing. Like I said, he was the big brother of the neighborhood. So when I envisioned the Red Stick Family, the Midnight Mirage, the music that me and Amin doing, like I envisioned him being there. I envisioned everybody, that was from the crew being there. All my niggas from the South Side, you know what I'm saying? From Riverdale to Jonesboro, Terra Boulevard, 85, Morrow, like everybody that I was close with, and they were just part of that history back then. The new shit that I'm doing now, I envision everybody being there. So to see the picture and then him being missing, it hurt. It hurt bad, man, because at that time, I remember our homeboy Tony. Tony was still in prison. The brother Eno is in prison. And then I think Eno's mother passed while he was in prison. And that's another sad thing that I think about sometimes, that the last time that man got to interact with his mom is when he was free. And then she died when he was in prison. And then Eno been in there over 10 years. I think Eno been in prison since like 2009 type shit. So like, damn, it was like, so the boy Tony is in prison. The boy Eno in prison. A lot of guys in the mafia were in prison and had died. The guys in 220, we had lost Larry. And then now AB. It just was like, I just was feeling like a lot of the big people, man. Because everybody big, man. Like, I got love for all of us. All the niggas that was in Amp 2 the Mafia from all parts of the South Side. Like, there is no small member to me. Like, everybody's a big member. So, with me, I want everybody to be in the picture. You know what I'm saying? Whether you from the young generation or old one, like, whether you was on the sidelines or whether you was in the field with us, like, everybody else from our hoods, we all grew up in the same experience. Like, we all walked to the same candy lady. We all walked to the same Dollar General. We all went to the same mall. You know what I'm saying? We all was trying to hitchhike a ride from the same homeboys. Like, sometimes when brothers didn't have clothes, we would share and wear the same shoes. We would drink from the same Gatorade from the gas station because only one nigga had money. Like, so it just hurt, man. Every time, when I think about the vision, man, and certain brothers are missing. And that's why I started off the tape by saying how that the time we have in this life and the people that you have around you and your own connection with the organic earth environment, this is very, very powerful and valuable, man. It's more valuable than anything you can think. And this was, this is just one of the things that I learned and got from AB's situation. And as far as how the brother passed, I think that when he got out, long story short, he had some kind of encounter with a person, and then it ended up, in gunfire, because when he got out, AB was he was getting into his physical fitness, and some of the guys was telling me that he was big on that, and he was getting his life back together and stuff like that. And then AB got a younger son too, so he was he had plans for himself post getting out of prison. And then AB had been in the county jail and prison. He had been in that shit a lot, so he was really on the other side of that shit, man. And I can remember too, some of the brothers telling me that, like when AB got out of prison, like how he still was kind of in this military mode with certain shit, you know what I'm saying? And then because I was away when they got to spend a little time with him before he passed. But when I saw some of the videos and how AB was, I could still see the military seriousness in him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure he still used to joke and was in that regular AB was still in him. But, when you behind the wall, you got to go into this guerrilla warfare mode like all the time. And, that brother had to deal with a lot, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to that, man. But, as far as I'm concerned, the brother name always going to live on because AB, he was a powerful figure in my life. He was part of my life experience. Like I said, we grew up in the same neighborhood, man. Like, AB protected us. Whenever we had beef, and whatever we was like, either going to be outnumbered or we dealing with niggas that got AK-47s and all that other, like, big shit that older niggas was doing, AB wasn't having none of that. Like, he was pulling up and he was, like, really laying shit down. And he had so much respect that the whole mafia was pulling up, and he just was that type of man, you know what I'm saying? So the brother AB's name is going to continue to live on, and he's always going to have a place in my heart, man, because as far as I'm concerned, man, it's still the days when I used to joke with him and we would be all out there playing basketball or sitting on the green box roasting each other, and you know what I'm saying? Those are those golden memories that I got of him, and just the type of character he had, and how he was an older brother. Ain't nobody perfect. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure that he had his flaws and he had little things going on that maybe we didn't know about. But, he was a powerful presence, man. He really, really was. And he always will be too. So It's another Green Box Politics. You know what I'm saying? The boy AB. You know, I'ma always love him. I'm always have love his family, his mother. You know what I'm saying? His siblings, his son. You know, and one day when things change for me on the upswing, you know what I'm saying? We gonna put some shit together, man. We really are. But y'all stay tuned for the next one. We out.